He painted the Mona Lisa, but what if art was just his side hustle? This man designed war machines, understood human anatomy before doctors did, and wrote his revolutionary ideas in a secret code. Subscribe now and turn on all notifications so you don't miss out on more inspiring stories. This man wasn't just a painter. He was also a brilliant engineer, a curious scientist, an amazing architect, a talented sculptor, and so much more. He knew about maps and stars, about plants and rocks. He understood water light and even ancient fossils. This man was so smart, so very talented, that people will still remember him 1,000 years from now. His name is Leonardo da Vinci. Today, I am going to tell you his story. It is a story that I hope will inspire you and, of course, help you improve your English. So let's begin. Let's start with his early life. A long, long time ago, in the year 1452, a baby boy was born in a small, quiet village called Vinci in Italy. His full name was Leonardo di Ser Piero da Vinci, which simply means Leonardo the son of Piero from Vinci. Leonardo's father Piero was a wealthy and important man. His mother Caterina was a poor woman from the village. Leonardo was born out of wedlock, which means his parents were not married to each other. Because of this, Leonardo did not grow up in a rich family with his father. But he had something much more valuable than money. He had a mind that was always curious. As a child, Leonardo was full of questions. He loved asking about everything. He wanted to know how birds could fly so high in the sky. He wondered why water always flowed downwards. He looked at the stars at night and wanted to understand how they moved. While the other children were playing games in the village, Leonardo often spent his time alone just watching nature. He would study the way leaves grew on the branches of a tree. He watched how shadows moved across the ground as the sun traveled through the sky. He quietly observed how animals behaved. He did not go to a fancy school. He did not learn Latin, which was the language that all the smart and important people used at that time. But that didn't stop him. Not at all. He taught himself by looking very carefully at the world around him. And guess what he started to do? He started drawing. His drawings were so detailed, so incredibly beautiful, that when people saw them, they could not believe that a child had made them. He captured everything with his pencil. When Leonardo turned 14 years old, his father saw his amazing talent for drawing. He knew his son had a special gift. So he sent Leonardo to Florence, which was the most famous and important city for art and culture in all of Italy. In Florence, Leonardo became an apprentice. This means he was a student who worked for a master to learn a skill. His master was Andrea del Verrocchio, a great artist and sculptor. In Verrocchio's workshop, Leonardo learned how to paint, how to sculpt, and how to create art that looked almost completely real. He also learned about building machines, about engineering, and even about how the human body works. But Leonardo was not the kind of student who just followed orders. He had his own ideas. He was always trying new things, always experimenting. He wanted to improve everything he learned. One day, Verrocchio asked Leonardo to help him with a big painting. It was called The Baptism of Christ. Leonardo's job was to paint one of the angels in the picture. When the painting was finally finished, everyone who saw it was amazed. The angel that Leonardo had painted looked so real, so soft, so beautiful that people could not stop talking about it. In fact, the story goes that Leonardo's angel was so good that his master Verrocchio decided to stop painting forever. He believed that his young student Leonardo was already better than him. While Leonardo was still a young man, he started to show another very unusual skill. He could draw with one hand and write with the other hand at the same time. But here is the interesting part: he wrote backward. His writing looked like a mirror image. To read it, you had to hold it up to a mirror. Why did he do this? Some people think he wanted to keep his notes and ideas secret. Others believe it was just easier and more comfortable for him because he was left-handed. Leonardo was not just drawing pretty pictures. He was creating art that was filled with small details that most people didn't even notice in real life. He loved sketching everything he saw. Plants, birds, and even incredible machines that he imagined in his mind. He had a deep need to understand how everything in the world worked. In the year 1473, something amazing happened. At just 21 years old, Leonardo created his first known piece of art. It was a sketch called the Arno Valley Landscape. This was not just a simple drawing. No, it was a very detailed view of the Arno River and the beautiful countryside around it. You could see mountains in the distance, trees, and the gentle curves of the land. But what made this sketch so very special was how realistic it looked. It was almost like looking out a window. It felt like you were seeing the world through Leonardo's own eyes, so clear, so alive. Why is this sketch so important for us? Because it showed that Leonardo was different from other artists. He didn't just draw what he saw in front of him. He added a feeling of depth, a sense of movement, and real emotion. In his hands, even a simple river became a masterpiece. Leonardo's mind was always working, always busy. He wrote down everything he thought about, from how birds fly to how the human body works. But as I told you earlier, he wrote everything in reverse. Imagine opening one of his notebooks. It would be like finding a treasure chest full of incredible ideas. He sketched flying machines, special bridges, and even designs for powerful weapons. People today still look at these notebooks and wonder, how could one single man think of all this? He also wrote a lot about nature. For example, he would look at a tree and try to explain why its branches grow in a certain pattern. He studied water very carefully. He drew sketches showing how water moved when it hit rocks or when it flowed into a calm stream. Here is something that I think you will love. For Leonardo, there was no difference between art and science. To him, they were the same thing. They were both ways to understand the world. When he painted a bird, he didn't just draw its pretty feathers. He studied how its wings moved. He wanted to understand the science of why birds could stay in the air. He even wrote down ideas for flying machines that looked like giant bird wings. In one of his notebooks, he wrote, "Once you have tasted flight, you will forever walk the earth with your eyes turned skyward." Isn't that beautiful? Even though airplanes would not be invented for hundreds of years, Leonardo was already dreaming about humans flying. Back in Florence, Leonardo continued working with Verrocchio. People in the city started talking about him. They said, "This young man is not just an artist, he is a genius." Leonardo loved drawing faces. He had a special gift for showing feelings and emotions in his paintings. A smile was never just a smile. It could be a happy smile, a shy smile, or even a mysterious smile. People felt a real connection to his art because it seemed so alive. He also loved to experiment. He was always trying new things. Sometimes he would mix his own paints to create new colors, or he would try new techniques for painting on walls. Leonardo was not just drawing and painting, he was also learning. He wanted to know everything about the world. For example, he studied anatomy. He did this by dissecting animals and even human bodies, which was very unusual at the time. He wanted to see for himself how muscles and bones worked together. He looked at the stars and tried to understand their movements. He drew maps that were so accurate, so detailed, that people used them for many years. Leonardo was not afraid to ask the big questions. Why do plants grow the way they do? Why does water flow faster in some places than in others? How do the human heart and lungs really work? Around this time, Leonardo started making sketches for inventions that no one had ever seen before. He drew designs for flying machines. He imagined a device with wings like a bird that could carry a person into the air. He designed lightweight bridges that could be built very quickly so that armies could cross rivers easily. He even thought of ideas for war machines like giant crossbows and armored tanks. Leonardo didn't just want to create beautiful things. He wanted to improve the world with his ideas. By the time Leonardo reached his mid-20s, people all over Florence knew his name. But this was only the beginning of his incredible journey. He was so much more than just an artist. He was a man who dreamed of making the impossible possible. His amazing ability to mix art, science, and engineering made him completely unique. He didn't just live in his time. He was a man far, far ahead of it. As Leonardo's fame grew rich and powerful, people started asking him to work for them. One of his biggest supporters was Lorenzo de' Medici, who was the ruler of Florence. In 1482, Lorenzo sent Leonardo to Milan to work for the Duke of Milan, a man named Ludovico Sforza. Now, why did the Duke want Leonardo? It wasn't just for his paintings. He wanted Leonardo to design powerful weapons, build strong fortresses, and create amazing machines for his army. Leonardo actually wrote a letter to the Duke listing all the incredible things he could do. In the letter, he mentioned building special bridges, creating cannons and other war machines, and designing new buildings. Then, at the very end of the letter, he casually added, "Oh, and I can also paint." This little detail shows us how versatile Leonardo was. He didn't just think of himself as an artist. He saw himself as a problem solver, an inventor, and a scientist. It was in Milan that one of Leonardo's most famous works came to life, The Last Supper. This painting is a true masterpiece that still amazes people today. The painting shows Jesus and his 12 disciples at the exact moment when Jesus says, "One of you will betray me." Leonardo wanted to capture the real human emotions of each person in that room. If you look closely at the painting, you will see that some disciples look shocked, others look confused or even angry. And Judas, the one who betrays Jesus, is shown holding a small bag of money and looking away from the group. Leonardo used a special technique to create depth to make the scene look three-dimensional, as if you could walk right into it. But he also experimented with the paint he used, and sadly it began to fade and peel not long after it was finished. Even so, The Last Supper remains one of the most famous and powerful paintings in history. While he was in Milan, Leonardo didn't just paint. He kept exploring science, engineering, and anatomy. He believed that to create perfect art, an artist had to understand what was beneath the skin. This is why his paintings look so incredibly realistic. He understood how the body moved, and he understood how light and shadow fell on a person's face. In the year 1503, Leonardo began working on what is now his most famous painting, the Mona Lisa. This is a portrait of a woman with a very mysterious smile. For centuries, people have been trying to understand her expression. Is she happy? Is she sad? Or is she thinking about a secret Leonardo spent years and years perfecting this painting? He used a special technique called sfumato, which means smoky in Italian. This technique made the edges of her face look soft and blurred, giving her a very lifelike and gentle appearance. What is truly amazing is that Leonardo carried this painting with him everywhere he went. It was very personal to him, almost like a part of his own soul. Leonardo filled thousands of pages with his sketches, his ideas, and his notes. He wrote about how the human eye works. He wrote about the flow of water and air. He drew machines that could lift heavy objects. He also wrote down his small thoughts and philosophies like, "Learning never exhausts the mind," and "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication." His notebooks were like windows that let us look directly into his brilliant mind. Even today, scientists and artists study them to understand how he thought. Leonardo did not stay in one place for very long. After his time in Milan, he traveled back to Florence. He also worked on projects for kings, dukes, and even the Pope in Rome. He kept inventing and experimenting. But not every project he started was finished. Why? Because Leonardo's mind was always moving on to the next big idea. He simply could not stop dreaming and creating. In the year 1516, Leonardo moved to France. The King of France, Francis V, admired him so much that he invited Leonardo to live in a beautiful mansion right near his own palace. Leonardo spent his final years in France teaching and sharing his incredible ideas. The king called him the father of all arts and treated him with great respect and kindness. On May 2, 1519, Leonardo da Vinci passed away. He was 67 years old. It is said that he died with a notebook still in his hand, still dreaming and sketching until the very end. Leonardo da Vinci wasn't just a painter or a scientist. He was a man who showed all of us that curiosity and hard work can lead to true greatness. He taught us to never, ever stop learning and to always see the world with a sense of wonder. Even 500 years later, his art, his ideas, and his inventions continue to inspire millions of people all over the world. Leonardo da Vinci's genius went far beyond his paintings. His deep curiosity about the world, his scientific observations, and his unmatched creativity left a mark on history that remains unshaken. One of Leonardo's most remarkable works is a painting called Salvator Mundi, which means Savior of the World. This painting shows Jesus Christ. In one hand, he is holding a crystal orb, or ball, which symbolizes the universe. With his other hand, he is making a gesture of blessing. Why is this painting so special? Salvator Mundi isn't just a painting. It's a masterpiece that shows a connection between the divine and the human. Leonardo's incredible skill in creating lifelike details is clear in Jesus's calm and serene expression, his flowing hair, and his glowing eyes. The crystal orb is painted so realistically that it seems to actually capture and bend the light passing through it. After Leonardo's death, Salvator Mundi disappeared for centuries. It was rediscovered in 2005, but some experts debated whether it was truly a work by Leonardo. Eventually, after a lot of research, most agreed that it was authentic. In 2017, Salvator Mundi was sold for $450.3 million, making it the most expensive painting ever sold. This just shows the immense value that people today place on Leonardo's genius. And did you know that one of Leonardo's handwritten notebooks called the Codex Leicester was sold to Bill Gates in 1994 for a huge amount of money, $8 million. This notebook contains Leonardo's thoughts on science, especially about water and how it moves and flows. He wrote about rivers, waves, and even how erosion shapes the land. The Codex Leicester isn't just a notebook, it is a window into Leonardo's brilliant mind. It shows how he observed the world and tried to understand its deepest mysteries. Today, Bill Gates occasionally displays it in museums so that everyone can have a chance to see it and learn from it. Leonardo was ahead of his time in many ways, including his compassion for animals. He believed that animals had feelings and intelligence just like humans. Leonardo often refused to eat meat because he did not want to cause harm to animals. He once wrote, "The time will come when people will look on the murder of animals as they now look on the murder of men." He also hated seeing birds kept in cages. The story goes that whenever he passed a market where birds were being sold, he would use his own money to buy them, open their cages, and set them free. This shows his deep respect for all living things. Leonardo da Vinci wasn't just an artist. He was a scientist who loved to ask questions about the natural world. One of his famous questions was, "Why is the sky blue?" Leonardo discovered that the sky appears blue because of how sunlight scatters when it passes through the air. He wrote about how tiny particles in the atmosphere spread the blue light more than other colors, which makes the sky look blue to our eyes. Remember, this was centuries before modern science explained the very same thing. Leonardo's observations were incredibly advanced for his time. He was also fascinated by the human eye. He called it the window to the soul. Leonardo studied how the lens in our eye bends light to create images. He made detailed sketches of the eye and described how it works, helping to pave the way for future discoveries in the science of optics. For Leonardo, understanding light wasn't just about science. It was about making his art better. By studying light and shadow, he learned how to make his paintings look incredibly real. And even though Leonardo was a true genius, he also had a playful side. He loved jokes and riddles. In his notebooks, you can find funny little sketches like a man with a giant nose or a silly invention that had no real purpose. For Leonardo, laughter was another way to explore and enjoy life. He believed in balancing hard work with moments of joy and simple curiosity. Leonardo da Vinci wasn't just a man. He was a phenomenon. Even after all these centuries, his name shines as brightly as ever. He achieved so much in his lifetime that it feels almost unbelievable. But what made him so extraordinary was not just his talent. It was his endless curiosity, his deep passion for learning, and his determination to leave the world a better place. In this final chapter, let's dive into how Leonardo da Vinci's legacy continues to inspire all of us and what lessons we can learn from his incredible journey. As Leonardo lay on his deathbed on May 2, 1519, surrounded by those who admired and respected him, he is said to have spoken his last words, "I have offended God and mankind because my work did not reach the quality it should have." These words show Leonardo's humility. Even after achieving so much, he still believed there was more he could have done, and more he could have learned. This teaches us that true greatness often comes with a sense of responsibility and a constant desire to improve. After his death, Leonardo's works, his ideas, and his notebooks spread across the world. His inventions inspired future scientists and engineers. His art became the gold standard for beauty and realism. His notebooks revealed a mind that was truly centuries ahead of its time. Many of Leonardo's inventions, like his flying machines, his hydraulic pumps, and even his designs for robots, inspired future advancements. He imagined things that would only be invented hundreds of years later. His paintings like the Mona Lisa, The Last Supper, and Salvator Mundi are not just artworks. They are masterpieces that capture human emotion and divine beauty. They continue to attract millions of people to museums and exhibitions. Leonardo taught us to observe the world closely. He believed that nature was the ultimate teacher. His studies of water-light plants and the human body revealed truths that modern science would later confirm. Leonardo da Vinci had a unique way of thinking that made him stand out. First, he had endless curiosity. Leonardo asked questions about everything. Why do birds fly? How does the heart pump blood? What makes the sky blue? This curiosity drove him to learn and discover. Second, he had a passion for learning. Leonardo never stopped learning even when he became famous. He continued to read, to study, and to experiment. Third, he believed in hard work. He didn't just rely on his natural talent. He worked hard every day to improve his skills, whether it was in painting engineering or studying anatomy. And fourth, he had a love for sharing knowledge. Leonardo shared his discoveries through his notebooks, which he hoped would help future generations. Leonardo da Vinci's life offers valuable lessons for anyone who wants to achieve greatness. Be curious. Never stop asking questions. Curiosity is the very first step toward discovery. Learn new things. Don't limit yourself to just one subject. Explore different areas of knowledge. Who knows, you might find a hidden talent. Work hard. Talent is important, but hard work is what turns dreams into reality. And don't fear failure. Leonardo's inventions didn't always work, but he never gave up. He saw failure as just another step toward success. And finally, stay humble. Even though he was a true genius, Leonardo remained humble. He believed there was always more to learn. His grave became a place of pilgrimage for those who wanted to honor his genius. In science, scientists still study his notebooks to understand his ideas. His sketches of flying machines inspired the development of airplanes. In art, his painting techniques like sfumato and his use of realistic proportions are still taught in art schools worldwide. Leonardo's belief in endless learning and curiosity reminds us that we can always grow no matter where we start in life. Imagine this. Leonardo da Vinci, a boy born in a small village without a formal education, grew up to become one of the greatest minds in all of history. He wasn't just born a genius, he became one by working hard, staying curious, and never ever giving up. Today, his story reminds us that greatness isn't reserved for only a few special people. It is something that anyone can achieve if they dare to dream big, work hard, and stay passionate. So to all of you listening to my voice today, remember, the sky is not the limit. Your mind is. Don't be afraid to try new things or to fail along the way. Keep learning. Stay humble and never stop believing in your own potential. This is the story of Leonardo da Vinci, the man who saw the world not just as it was, but as it could be. Let his life inspire you to chase your own dreams and to make your own mark on the world. Dream big and act now.